Hey, it's Verity from the creative team and welcome back to the Wow Embossing Powder YouTube channel. Wow have some fabulous powders that are going to change up your heat embossing game. They are wow changers, and there are 3 different powders to mix with any existing wow embossing powder to give it a whole new look, whether it has a softer sheen, a sparkle glitter look, or a texturized appearance. So one embossing powder can now become 3 more, opening up your stash even more. So when you buy the changes, they come as a set of 3 in a lovely case to store them in. As I mentioned, there are 3 powders in the changes set. One called Textured, which adds more interest to your powders, great for mixed media, or if you want sort of a sand or soil feel to your cards. Then there is Glisten, so this adds a lovely sparkle and glitter to your powder. So if you've got a favourite colour you have, but no corresponding embossing glitter, well, you can now. And the last one is Sheen, which adds a lovely soft pearlized appearance to the powder. The package also comes with 3 empty pots to mix your powders up and to store any of your mixes in. I'll be using a metallic, an opaque and a translucent powder, as these can all work differently with the changes. Now I do plan to create with 3 foundation powders, and therefore to begin with I'm mixing my powders in foil cases. I do use the pots, but that will be for my second colour powder. The first powder I'm mixing is Metallic Platinum. I'm using a metal spatula to add some platinum to my foil case. And I'm making sure I'm using metal and not plastic because we don't want to add static back into the powders, which Wow have done so much to remove. Now you can use metal measuring spoons if you have them, however I don't, so I guesstimated with my spatula by putting the same quantity of embossing powder to changer in the tin foil case. So the first powder I'm going to be mixing in from the changes is the Sheen. Now once I've added the powder, I'm mixing the powders together to get an even mix. Next I'm smooshing my ink pad, my Wow clear ultra slow drying embossing pad, down onto a piece of card, as I want to create an embossed card to die cut from. Once covered in ink, I can then cover with the powder and heat set. Now as you heat set, the powder will melt like normal, will appear slightly different with the changer added in. As I'm doing a large surface area, I need to emboss this several times to get a good coverage. So I'm repeating the process of inking the card up and covering with the powder before heat setting. Once covered, you will get a softer metallic platinum colour. So the second changer I'm mixing up is the Textured changer. So this gives a very tactile feel to the embossing, and it's much better to see and feel in person. You may feel when you're heat setting the powder that you've gone too far, but you won't have. Remember, it will have that rough textured appearance to it. If you've used the white puff embossing powder before, it can look quite similar to this. The last changer to use is the Glisten, and this is great for creating custom embossing glitters for colours that you love, as it adds a lot of sparkle to the finished look. So if there's a colour you love that doesn't have an embossing glitter, well, you can now. As you can see here with the 3 pieces of card, they've all used the same basic embossing powder base, but we've got 3 different looks using the changes. The next powder I'm using is the Love is the Drug, which is a translucent powder. This will look quite different compared to the metallic powder when combined with the changes. For this powder, I'm using the 3 storage pots to mix powders in, and again I'm using my metal spatula to add the translucent powder into the 3 pots. I can then go in and add each changer to each pot and close the lid to shake the powders up and mix them well. Now it's entirely up to you the quantities you want to use. If you did 1:1 ratio, then you'll get an even mix. If you add more of the changer, you'll get more of a change. If you add less of the changer, you'll get less of a change. There is space on the front of each pot for you to add a label to, so you don't forget which powder is which. Now I've used these in the same way as before by heat embossing strips of card. I've heat embossed 4 strips of card, so I've included the translucent powder unchanged, and here you can really see the difference in all of those 3 strips. From one powder, I've now got 4 different looks. Lastly, I also mix the changes with an opaque powder, Angel Eyes. This is a lovely marbling aqua powder. This time, to heat emboss this, I added strips of double-sided tape to the card panel and removed the strips independently and then covered these with an embossing mix, either with texture, sheen or glisten. I also heat embossed a few strips without any mix in at all, so you can really see the difference. This can really add interest to the background with such a change in the appearance and texture, really elevating the background from quite a flat look if you just use one powder to a more interest and depth by using the changes. I die cut nested circles out of the platinum card to inlay with one another to emphasise the difference in the powders, and this was foam mounted onto the front of the card. Several different size hearts using the Altenew Love Letter dies was die cut using the Love is a Drug embossing strips. Again, these would adhere to the front of the card with foam dimension and clustered around to draw the eye around the card. Lastly, the sentiment was added using the Birch Press Designs Sugar Script Love Word die, and a separate heat emboss sentiment was added underneath. These changes were so fun to create with, and the possibilities are endless. It opens up your embossing powder collection to a whole new level, and a favourite colour of yours just got a whole lot more interesting by adding all these changes to them. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and why not subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to be notified when the next video is up. If you'd like to check out my personal channel, Pretty Little Button, I've also included a link here as well as down below. Also, why not check out this other video for some more inspiration. Until next time, happy crafting!